Welcome to Lead Today with me, Kalina. Let's talk leadership. Hello, week 6. This is the time when your baby's heartbeat is now detectable. Can you believe it? There's this rhythm, this force that is, you've been connected from the moment of conception, but this is like a rhythm of life within you, and your baby's organs are beginning to form, and you're beginning to maybe notice some pregnancy symptoms, maybe not. Definitely by 6 weeks, some nausea is coming into play, at least in my experience, and the fatigue is real. Emotions might be high. Your body is doing such incredible work to support the rapid development of your baby and the placenta at the same time. And I think this is what, people talk baby, and yes, there's a baby, and this placenta it's an organ in and of itself, right? That we have to acknowledge is being formed. And I actually read it's in the first 40 days. It's a good book for postpartum. They have a pregnancy book and a preconception book, so it's actually interesting. I'll link to all 3 of those resources. But they talk about this, trinity, and it's the mother, the baby, and the placenta, interestingly enough, as this pregnancy sort of trinity. And I think the placenta is really this unsung hero of sorts, because it's really providing so much nourishment. And in the first trimester, your body has to build this organ from scratch. Think about that. You're literally forming, can you imagine forming a bladder or like a lung or a kidney from scratch? You're doing all of that in terms of the baby, but then you're also building this separate organ. So you got a lot going on, and you might be tired, rightfully so. You might not be telling that many people. So how do you navigate the nuance of that? I think people might have judgments. You really just have to, this is the beginning of you really focusing on you, this new family unit. I have been through the first trimester 5 times now, and it's certainly, in terms of the trimesters, the most exhausting in some sense. 3rd trimester has its own exhaustion component, but the tired feeling of first trimester is real. And I calculated it's actually with 5 pregnancies, it's been I've been in the first trimester for over a year of my life cumulatively. And wow, let me just say, wow. It's, not all at once, obviously, but it definitely just asks a lot of you. So please be gentle in this phase. As I mentioned in the last episode, we will continue this series with the assumption that you are pregnant, but I will continue to link resources for loss if that is what occurs, and know that there are other episodes geared toward that, and that it just means redirection. And I know the emotions there, and I don't want to segue too much, but I will link that in every episode. So as we go through this journey, I do recognize and want to call out, for some people, week 6 is exciting. For some people, it's not. For some people, week 7, week 8, week 9, there's no magical week that, is perfect or not. And I want to be calling it out that if this is a quote unquote good week, fantastic. We're going to celebrate it. If this is not a great week, we're going to give the resources, and we will meet that for what it is. So just know that I think going with the flow of whatever will be, whatever is for you right now, is all you really are called to do. And that's a tall order. I'm not trying to minimize what that is, but that is what you're called to do, is to just be aware of where you're at in this present moment. So wherever that is for you, seek out resources, support, and do what your body needs according to where you're at. Okay, so 6 weeks, stronger symptoms, body's working hard, your baby's heart is beating from around 100 to 160 beats per minute. Even facial features are starting to form. Size of a lentil. Your baby's brain, spinal cord, and other major organs are also developing quickly. Can you, like, size of a lentil? Okay, let's be fair. You've gone from sesame seed to lentil. Think about the magnitude of that at that scale. I mean, like doubling, tripling. It's just wild in such a short, 7 days. Not very long. And your baby's brain, spinal cord, other major organs are developing. So really now nutrition matters. That being said, depending on what your symptoms are, be kind to yourself, because you might just only want to eat bagels or oatmeal or nothing at all. Try to do the best you can with what you got. Again, we're really taking this day by day with how you are in that day. And interestingly enough, I think that's the MO for this entire experience is, and even into motherhood, is day by day. Needs shift, preferences shift. Talk to moms who have toddlers where one day they were eating everything, the next day they only want strawberries and pasta, the next day they don't like that anymore and they want chicken, then they hate chicken and they want, that's I've been through that in my pregnancies where preferences change, and I think that's just a simple representation of how things change in life. And so let's be open to those changes. I think one thing starts to work and then you have to change it again. It's sort of, that's what makes this fun, or you can see it as a burden and you can see it as frustrating, and maybe sometimes it's exciting and also frustrating, and that's okay too. But just calling it out, right? Like your food preferences might change. That's okay. You might really be craving fruit and sweet things. You might really not want anything sweet and want really savory, salty things. Whatever it is. There are wives' tales, right? Like sweet is a girl, salty is a boy. Morning sickness is more morning sickness is a girl, less is a boy. Good skin. I had a girl who was completely convinced that I was having a boy because my skin looked great, and I had another lady tell me that because I had nausea, I was having a girl, literally in the same, like all in the same breath. So, if you want to play those games, cool. But the biggest thing right now, I think, is being 100% in tune with what you need and doing your best to be hydrated, to be nourished to whatever degree you can, and resting to whatever point you can. And the question I'd ask you to consider this week is, how can you embrace the physical and emotional changes of pregnancy with compassion, recognizing them as a part of the sacred journey toward motherhood? So how can you embrace these physical and emotional changes? Now, when it comes to nausea, I do have a little bit of I suppose, what worked well for me, science-y sort of, I've read the gamut on nausea, morning sickness in particular, and what I've found is there are products that are, it's not just ginger, but B6. And so whether you want to supplement with B6 or you want to take one of those chewable things, I did find that I couldn't tolerate the taste of, like, at first the chewables were good, but then I couldn't tolerate the taste. And so supplementation was the way to go for me. But definitely vitamin B6, at least, again, for me, but try it, especially if this is really bugging you. Was a game changer on the nausea front. Also, usually I found it resolved when I ate. I've got friends that it goes away not when they eat. Like when they eat, then they get nauseous. So everybody's different. Again, probably the motto of this entire series. Every mom, every baby is unique. And so you've got to find what works for you. And that starts now. It started weeks ago in theory. That's, I think, one of the huge lessons of being pregnant and probably into motherhood. I can speculate, but definitely for pregnancy is finding what works for you and your baby, your situation. And that's so critical. We're going through this initiation. Pregnancy and then going into the transition of motherhood is an initiation for a woman. It's life changing. And it's a confirmation, a reconfirmation that you know yourself best, that your intuition serves you, that no one can tell you what's right for you, that people will have opinions, like so many opinions. And at the end of the day, you are the authority. You get to decide. You have the answers within you. And so I hope that you can tune back into that this week, specifically in regards to rest and nourishment, because those are the things that get a bit challenging at this point in time as you're tired and maybe nauseous and not necessarily feeling like doing a bunch. I mean, asking for help is another one that I think moms struggle with, pregnancy related, struggle with, because if not many people know, you don't want to ask for accommodations. There's that whole runaround. So I would say ask for help if you can, your partner, the people that you've told. If not, enlist support of some sort from somewhere as needed. But as I've mentioned, most important of all, get in touch with yourself and please, please honor those naps or going to bed early, not being super social, because your body's doing a lot right now, which is so thrilling. I mean, can you imagine? You can literally detect a heartbeat. What? After a few weeks? It's just wild. If you are feeling delicate about this, like feeling like it's still very new, because it absolutely is. I think we're nurturing a seed. We're nurturing something the size of a lentil. We have to honor that for what it is, right? This is absolutely in its infancy. We're still in that period of darkness, of isolation, of in the quiet. I mean, even if you've announced this, it's still in such an early embryonic phase, right? It's this beginning stage. It's not the third trimester where you walk into a place and everybody kind of can guess that you're pregnant for the most part, right? Although some people will still it's an interesting thing. People will still get it wrong, or it's still sort of, but anyhow, you're in a phase where this is your little secret, from the world, and you're nurturing this little seedling within you. And so that's precious, that's special, that's sacred. It's this delicate thing that has all the information it needs, all the resources it needs to grow into what it's meant to be. That seed has all the right information. You just get to nurture it. Big job. But you get to nurture it. And these beginning phases, the beginning of anything, right? We have this spring energy. It's when the buds come onto the trees. We're in a spring season here where the bud is just starting to grow. And, well, what do we need in spring? You might need a light jacket. You've definitely got to keep the nourishment up. Things are changing rapidly. And when I say light jacket in spring, I'm just talking about, right? It's not you're taking off that big parka from the winter. It's not complete hibernation, although you might feel like it with the fatigue. But you're there's this newness. There's a sense of new growth in your body. And so this connection between the two of you is taking root and growing, and it's just the beginning. And so laying out a vision, maybe some positive affirmations, thinking about the beginning phases. You want to create a vision when you're in the beginning phases of a project, right? And so similarly, you're in the beginning phases of this project of sorts, this process, this experience, and I would invite you to tune into your vision for it, even if it doesn't go according to plan, which, as we've already established, we've got to go with the flow. But this is your chance to start connecting to this life, dreaming if you've already been dreaming about this, but now it's materialized, it's real, the baby's within you. And so this is what we want. We want connection. And if you've struggled with loss in the past of any kind, or if you've just been waiting for a long time, or if it just feels super soon to be connected, because, I've done these meditations. It's like, put your hands on your womb and connect to your baby. And I'm like, what? It's so real. It's like, it feels like it hasn't fully hit. I think if that's the case, even with the physical symptoms, right? The physical symptoms kind of make it feel real, but then to be able to put your hands on your womb and feel like, okay, this is happening. I think that at least for me, it took a long while. I mean, certainly not week 6 where I could put my hands there and really say, oh, there you are, right? You're there. That kind of mind body connection took quite a bit for me. So I would say if that's the case for you, one, totally fair and reasonable. So you are in good company. But two, if you're super in your head, maybe writing or talking about it, something that's more heady, will get you somewhere in terms of expressing how you feel about it, right? You'll have that head based piece, but maybe there is a component to get more into the physicality of it, that grounding that we talked about last week. If you're feeling really like, okay, I know this to be true in my head, but it's like where, and the nausea's in my, I feel the nausea or the fatigue in my body, but the womb, like, I don't really feel connected to that. And if that's the case, I truly do think starting with, yes, you can put your hands there, that physicality of it, at least will get you prompted to, okay, here's where it is that this is happening. But I think there could be a next layer for you if it's a challenge, which is, okay, hand on heart, hand on belly, and just seeing a cord between, a connection between your baby's heartbeat and your heartbeat, and just see kind of that cord in whatever color you want, but kind of just imagine a string from that little lentil baby, that little lentil sized baby to your heart, and seeing that connection. Because as we've stated, no matter what happens with this pregnancy, that cord, that connection to this life will be with you forever. You are forever changed by having this life inside of you for however long, and whatever the outcome is. And so just connecting that cord and saying, and you can kind of press, like not too much pressure, right? But kind of press into your chest and press your womb and kind of, okay, and sort of give a bit of feedback, because it's like if you just put your hand there, it feels very passive and it doesn't feel like, okay, wait, something's there. It sort of feels disconnected. But if you can kind of put some pressure on your chest and then a little bit on your womb, and okay, and kind of get, okay, up here's my chest and down here's my womb, and okay, kind of just feel into those sensations. It's a little bit more active than just kind of place your hand there and breathe, and it feels hard for me at least to connect. And so a little bit of counter pressure, a little bit of sensation might be good. But practicing that even at this stage is great, because you want to build that connection between you and the baby. And for me, I definitely shut that down because of the pain that I'd experienced. I shut myself off to some degree. And so my hope for you would be to start as you feel ready to build that connection, because that cord of connection between these two hearts, that bond, it's two bodies connecting to two lives, on a physical, but that spiritual connection is there as well forever. And so I hope you will lean into that and embrace that, and hopefully on a physical level can, mentally connect to that, and then physically sort of connect to, hey, we're connected forever. These cells literally will be a part of you forever, have changed you forever. There are findings that the cells of a baby, and they don't specify gestation, but the cells of a baby are with the mother lifelong. And so you will have physical evidence within your system of this baby for the rest of your life. And if that's not a biological sign, I don't know what is. So you will always be connected to this baby no matter what happens. And so honor that connection today and this week as your baby continues to grow. And I will see you next week in week 7, where you've got even more rapid growth and that deepening connection between the two of you. So thank you so much for sharing in this with me. It's my honor to go on a pregnancy journey with you. And please take good care until I see you next time.